Operation Midnight Hammer was an epic operation that caught Iran completely off guard. As they say, our bomber pilots are now back home in Missouri. And President Trump thanked them in a post last night for a job well done, exclamation point, all caps. We're learning more about the many levels of deception and decoy. It was like a James Bond movie that went into this mission. The real strike force went east toward the heavily fortified nuclear facility at Fort Al. Those B-2 bombers dropped a dozen bunker buster bombs on Fort Al alone, each weighing 30,000 pounds, and they never once encountered enemy fire. Chief National Correspondent, Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon. I tell you, you just can't stop being wowed by what we pulled off, Jennifer.
An absolutely flawless mission. But, Harris, U.S. military forces are now on high alert across the Middle East, expecting an imminent response from Iran. The U.S. Navy actively planning its response should Iran's Revolutionary Guard Navy mine the Strait of Hormuz. Few here at the Pentagon think this is over, despite Saturday's flawless military strike on Iran's 3 nuclear facilities, a plan that has been honed and practiced since 2008. U.S. B-2 pilots have been practicing this 37-hour round-trip flight to the Middle East for years. The 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs tested against hardened targets as recently as last year.
This operation underscores the unmatched capabilities and global reach of the United States military. As the president clearly said last night, no other military in the world could have done this.
125 U.S. warplanes, each B-2 refueled in midair 3 to 4 times each way on the nonstop 18-hour flight from Missouri. An air refueling bridge across the Mediterranean and Middle East, 14 GBU-57 bunker buster bombs among the 75 satellite-guided munitions dropped, and 30 Tomahawk missiles fired from an Ohio-class submarine 400 miles away, which stayed in the air 1 hour and 40 minutes, time to drop after the last B-2 struck in Fordo. Captain Todd Sawhill, an intelligence targeting officer focused on this problem for years, was asked whether the Tomahawks could destroy Isfahan and the deep tunnels where the Iranian uranium conversion takes place.
No, in that case, it's extremely limited because those weapons are really designed to go after surface targets. They don't have much penetration capability. The problem is, like you mentioned, the mountain, which is deep under hard granite and unreachable by conventional munitions, to include the GBU-57.
Isfahan is arguably a tougher target, Harris, than Fordo. The U.S. will be using signals intelligence and other means to sniff for nuclear particles at the sites, along with Israeli human intelligence on the ground to give the final bomb damage assessment, Harris.
Yeah, and the world awaits to see what that will hold. Jennifer, we have breaking news right now, and it's partially on what you were talking about. Qatar's foreign minister now has just announced it is shutting down its airspace to all commercial flights indefinitely. And we know just a few minutes ago that the U.S. issued a shelter-in-place order for Americans in Qatar. What does all of this tell you?
Well, there's very significant intelligence and a warning that Iran could strike at any time, an imminent threat to Qatar. Of course, Qatar is where Al Udeid is. That's the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. Normally, there would be 10,000 U.S. troops stationed there. Last week, we reported that most of the aircraft had been moved from Al Udeid. However, those missiles, cruise and ballistic, short and medium range from Iran would take just a few minutes to reach Qatar, and there's also the possibility of swarming drones. So right now, high alert inside Qatar. We've seen the warnings at the U.S. Embassy, as well as at other embassies across Qatar.
I'm so glad you're on with us at this moment, because following a U.S. security alert for U.S. nationals in Qatar out of an abundance of caution, we've recommended that British nationals in Qatar also shelter in place until further notice. So this is ramping up, and what we do know is our military is at the ready. They've been pulling into place for a couple of weeks now, even. Jennifer, thank you very much. Always appreciate your reporting. More on the breaking news out of that region. KT McFarland served as Deputy National Security Advisor during President Trump's first administration. So hitting our troops in that region, Iran has done so many times before. Over 200 times under President Biden. It is time we respond. What do you foresee just out of these warnings from Qatar?
Well, Iran's going to retaliate. The question is, how are they going to retaliate and how successful will they be? I mean, the most they could do is to try to take out U.S. forces or attack U.S. forces in the region. But as you pointed out, we're ready for that. We've brought more assets into the region to defend our bases, our people. We've taken dependence, civilian dependence out of the region, so to make a smaller target, if you will. And we've also, particularly Israel, has degraded the capability of Iran to have those kind of attacks. So we're ready, but we're expecting to take the blow, but we're ready. I mean, Iran could also go after Israeli facilities in the region or bomb Israel again. But again, their ability to do so has been greatly reduced. We know they're going to do something. The question is what, and would it trigger the response that President Trump has talked about? You know, they've got to all be nervous. I mean, they've shown that Donald Trump has shown that he's not a patsy. He's not going to believe that, oh, well, we feel, you know, we want to negotiate. He's going to do what he has to do to protect Americans.
And what I hear you getting at is they have to be really careful when they make this next move. I mean, it's like walking on toothpicks on top of a lily pad. You can't be too heavy-footed or you'll go into water and you don't know how deep it is. I mean, Trump is willing to do what is necessary, exactly. Right? I mean, it's just that tricky. I have parents from the South, so I have a lot of those little sayings. But look, what you're saying is they've got to try to hit us, but not hit us too hard. I don't know if they can pull that off. Many of their military commanders were taken out by Israel.
And the ones that remain know that if they, you know, they could be taken out as well. I mean, it's pretty clear that Mossad has thoroughly penetrated the Iranian military, the Iranian civilian leadership. And if they try to do something that would, especially something that would cause loss of American life, you know, they might as well pull the trigger on their own heads. What President Trump was interested in when he's talked about regime change. Now, regime change in the George W. Bush, Barack Obama sense is American Marines go in, we get rid of the guy, we put our own government in, we try to figure out how they should become a modern American democracy. And it's never worked. It didn't work in Afghanistan, didn't work in Iraq, didn't work in Libya. President Trump has said to the Iranian people, look, you should have leaders who make your country great again. It's up to you. And he said consistently throughout his 2 terms that it's up to the people to decide their own country. You know, you decide what kind of a government you want, what leaders you want, how you worship your God. It's up to you. If you want to do regime change, that's on you, but we might applaud it if you do this in the case of Iran.
So a few minutes ago, when Ambassador Danone was here, he was telling me, and it seems like a point of desperation, we were both agreeing off camera, and then the conversation ensued. He said that they are hiring prisoners coming out of jails in Israel. Iran is doing this, trying to find the angriest among them to see if they can flip them as assets and give them menial tasks, he said. They'll send them, you know, take a picture over here, you get a little bit of change for that, until they work them up into doing something worse.
You know, that's an act of desperation, right? I mean, the Ayatollah we know is in hiding. He already has decided he's going to be a martyr. He's 86 years old. He's dying of cancer. What a great way to go out. He's already designated 3 people who would be his successors. But you have to wonder what's the conversations they're having within the leadership group of Iran. Because of the generals looking at each other and say, I've had this job for 48 hours now. My predecessor was assassinated. I want to keep this job. Did I sign up for this? Did I sign up for martyrdom? And maybe, as President Trump says, the Iranian people want to make Iran great again. President Trump's offering an opportunity to come to the negotiating table and extend the hand of freedom and peace.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Iran looks for enemies within the countries that it would like to have death of.
Yeah.
KT McFarland, great to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the Faulkner Focus. Outnumbered after the break.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.